Welcome to the Secret Keepers Podcast with your host, Kareen Zutleger. Join us as we uncover the hidden thoughts, stories, and moments that help bring light to the healing power of truth and examine how silence can affect us mentally, physically, and spiritually. We'll also share profound stories, interviews, and transformative narratives to help release ourselves from the hidden and step into healing towards inner peace, joy, and fulfillment. Now, here's your healing strategist and host, Kareen.
Welcome to the Secret Keepers Podcast. Today, my guest is Sarah Paulson, and I am going to let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Hello, I am Sarah Paulson. I am a certified financial planner and the owner and founder of Valkyrie Financial, a personal financial planning firm designed specifically for ladies born in the 80s and 90s to get all of their money stuff right, because let's face it, we need as much help as we can get.
Yeah, when you approached me with coming on the podcast and you're like, let's talk money. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be so juicy because there are so many secrets that we can keep about money, whether we do that with ourselves or others. So I really loved the spin on this. So maybe not necessarily your own secret, but it could be one that you have kept about money as well. But I would love to hear about how um, either examples of how you've heard, secrets about money or your own personal secret about money. Um, let's hear it. What are we talking about here?
Money itself, I think, is the last taboo. Like, amongst friends, we will talk about sex, politics, probably too much politics, religion, but money is still one of those things that we just go, maybe not. That's still impolite. So it's just so interesting for me thinking about money. This is all I've ever done as a professional career, is think about wealth and management and money. And then working with clients and seeing that unfolding of, yeah, they've probably kept the secret from themselves, that they just didn't want to face what is going on with their money situation. I know there have been times in my life where I went through phases of spending got out of control, or I was spending to feel something or avoid feeling something. Um, and then being really ashamed of, oh crap, I have a credit card bill that I don't have the cash to back up this month. And that just feels like such a lack of control and a lack of discipline. We're shamed for not knowing or understanding everything that we're doing in our lives. That I think it's just a fascinating topic to talk about and how other people relate to it.
It really is. And, like I think about even for myself because, I mean, I'm going to be really honest. I grew up poor.
Mm.
Any of the money stuff that was ever discussed was not really pleasant. And, some of my earliest memories are my mom like sitting, she had what she called her bill book, and it was a notebook, and she kept track of everything in this notebook of what needed to come out of each paycheck, etc. And, so money was this source of um, distraughtness, and it was this
Mm.
pain source, if you will.
Yes.
um, and so of course then generationally, um, I start looking at my grandparents and having gone through the depression, and so fast forward where I don't, that's not how I want to think about money, right? I don't want to think money is the root of all evil, right? Because
Mhm.
many of us have been taught that it
Yep. Yep.
this evil topic, or that
Mhm.
those who have it are money, they're just, greedy and selfish and
Yeah.
some, right. It's one it I think people avoid the topic because
Mhm.
it can give such a stigma about it. And
Yeah.
it's like, but money is simply a tool.
Absolutely. That's what I say all the time when we people think money is evil, and I just say it's a tool. It's just like a hammer. A hammer can be used to build something beautiful. It could also be used to murder someone, but let's not.
Yeah.
And money is the same way. It's just how are you going to use it? And I think especially for women, I know especially for women, there have been studies done about how we are conditioned to think about money and how our brains, especially with more of the nurturing messaging that we always get, that money isn't for us women. Money is for everyone around us. And it's another way that we should sacrifice or give to others and can't keep for ourselves. And that's especially greedy. Whereas guys, they don't get that message. So it's
Yeah.
something that we really have to work through of it's okay. It's okay for me to have this money for myself, to create my own money, to want my own money.
Absolutely. What brought up for me is, when you hear of women who are, they're really moving forward to have, amazing businesses like yourself, and they're earning 6 and 7 and 8 figures, and then the world can view them as, you know, bitchy,
Yes.
because
Yep.
you know,
Exactly.
mastering their own lives and really taking control of it,
Oh,
and or um, the kind of like this power hungry, like, oh, what's wrong
oh,
with
yes.
you, or there's all sorts of stuff that gets conjured up, if you will,
Right.
because a woman wants to create wealth for herself and
Yes.
her family, or just even that viewpoint of, like, if the woman is the breadwinner of the family, the stigma around that.
Yeah.
um, I'm sure you see it all that comes in by you.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. And that can definitely create friction. And again, I just love reading all of the research and studies that other experts have done on this. They interviewed couples where the woman was the breadwinner. And if she admitted to being the breadwinner, she downplayed by how much she was. She would lie about how much she was making. And often her male partner would inflate himself a little bit,
Yeah.
trying to create some more equality because that's just not how it's supposed to work. Hard air quotes.
Yeah. Well, and then I think of even the reverse scenario, right? So that if you have the man who's the breadwinner, and you maybe
Mhm.
have a woman who has, um, chosen, they chose together, like, to raise
Yeah.
their family, and
Yes.
so therefore she's not bringing in an income. There's stigma there too, right? Because it's still this, um, it's a viewpoint, right? She's
Mhm.
either, she's not doing anything with her life, or
Right.
she's a
Yes.
stubborn bitch.
Yes. Yeah. She's given it all up for a man, which is just very restrictive. And it doesn't give us options to really express who we are in its fullest.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you and I talked, like, education around money.
Yes.
We receive very limited
Mhm.
education in our educational systems,
Right.
unless you elect to take it. And let's admit it, at the high school level, I mean,
Mhm.
most kids are like, you don't necessarily want to learn about it, but it's important to have a knowledge base, uh,
Mhm.
even though, like, 18 is considered an adult.
Yeah.
The prefrontal cortex of the brain doesn't fully develop. For a woman between 25 and a male 28. And when you look at that, and that is your impulse control center, but
Yep.
we come out into the world at 18 telling them they're adults, but they're
Uh-huh.
not even fully formed yet. And so there are some decisions in there that could be, maybe not so good with money, impulsive buying purchases. And if we haven't been educated
Right.
around how to work with money, and I know that's what you do. So people come
Uh,
in and
yes.
they get to talk money with you.
Yes. It's my favorite topic, getting to discuss what it means to them, what their experience has been, and give a safe space for whatever they are carrying or whatever thoughts they have about themselves and how they're managing their money. There have been multiple times clients have cried talking over finances because
Mm.
it's such a source of stress, and having someone to release that to is such a relief that they can't contain it. And it's really, it can be heartbreaking, but also heart building work to help someone through that secret.
Sure. I imagine just like liberating because once the elephant is, you know, removed,
Mhm.
right, unveiled, right? You can have a conversation and to have somebody like you with knowledge in the room when
Technical.
such a conversation is happening so that you can help mitigate what's going on, you know,
Mhm.
when it comes to money. And I just kind of want to like, what's the most outrageous thing you've ever seen?
Oh gosh. What is the most outrageous thing I've ever seen? It would probably be more around this is this is not great. Around male financial advisor behavior than it is around any of my clients and their secrets. Um, there definitely gets to be, especially in the more typical what we think of finance, which is a middle-aged white guy in a suit. There's kind of this God complex going on when they are working with big amounts of money. They are the ones that have the knowledge. And yeah, there again, it goes back to that education. If we don't have the education, they are the ones with it. It creates this imbalance that sometimes gets a little out of whack.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the most outrageous thing I ever had was a financial advisor tried to get me to expense a $200 pen, like a writing utensil, through the business. And it was just like his idea of what money and reasonable was versus my idea of money and reasonable and how it should be deployed. It was just kind of like oh, interesting.
Right. And
There have
perspective.
been Yeah, yeah, yeah. And slightly different tack. There have been multiple times when I'm working with clients where I feel a lot more like a couples therapist than I do any kind of money advisor, financial advisor, because that's where you see the secrets really come out of, okay, we thought we were coexisting, but it turns out we just weren't talking about this and we avoided it.
So yeah, I can understand that the avoidance, right? Because if it's going to create conflict and say one of the partner doesn't really like conflict,
Yeah.
right? Or that's what they believe it's going to be conflict instead of conversation.
Mhm.
Communication.
Yeah.
And then there's that belief that conflict is bad, right? But
Right.
conflict is good. We're humans. We're going to have conflict.
Mhm.
Should be able to talk it out. So
Yes.
it's nice that you can be a mediator. I don't
Media.
know. I don't know if you should need to be a marriage counselor. If you can serve that capacity and
No, I definitely cannot. I am not licensed for that one. Mm-mm.
you're like, okay, here's the deal. I'm here to talk about your money.
But that's also so important for being an effective financial advisor instead of just a financial dictator, of figuring out what is actually going to work. What kind of recommendation is going to stick for this person based on how they are thinking and feeling about money? And getting, when I'm working with a couple, both couples on board with where this is going to go. Otherwise, it's just going to continue the conflict. And that's not helpful.
Well, that's basically see them at the division of assets, right? I mean, that's
Yes. Oh,
that can
yeah.
resolve the conflict within. So when you think about, like the things that go on with money, you know, I like to talk about, how it affects people physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. What would you say would be out of those four things would be the greatest way that it affects people that you see?
It can be a full body stress experience. It is one of the top stressors that people point to
Mhm.
of how can I afford to live my life? no matter what level that is on. There are 32% of people who earn over $250,000 a year still say they're living paycheck to paycheck. $250,000 a year in income, and they are still paycheck to paycheck. So that's where you really see that it's a mindset game. And definitely for some people, they do not get paid enough. There are way too many professions that just do not get the income that they deserve or need to live a dignified life.
Sure. I agree
But
with that.
there are also a lot of situations where our brains have become accustomed to a certain level of living, and we're always trying to reach for that next level. You always see someone else on Instagram that's doing it a little better than you, and it's natural. We want that.
Well, right, because we are here, our beings, to live full expansion, right?
Yeah.
We're looking to expand while we're here, and we get that, right? And so, if somebody is, say, making $250,000 a year, living here in Wisconsin, anyways, I mean, that's good money
It's
here,
really good money. Yes.
right? And so
Mhm.
we're living to paycheck. So is it, because people get caught up in the stuff and
Yeah.
thinking that stuff is going to somehow bring them the happiness and the joy?
Mhm. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a lot of everything. I mean, yes, stuff, but experiences too. I mean, how much is your average Taylor Swift concert going for these days? Um, and that's not said with judgment. It's just a fact that
right.
we have really come to this mindset of I deserve it,
Oh, yeah.
whether it's true or not.
Well,
It's justified.
there is no such thing as delayed gratification, right? So I see this across the board, right? We want to push the easy button, or I
Yeah.
want to push the microwave button, right? So either it's got to be easy
Uh-huh.
or instant, right? So instant gratification.
Mhm.
And if I don't get that, they, because especially the young kids coming up,
Mhm.
necessarily know what it's like to, and I do this because I used to work with special needs kids, to wait, you have to wait,
Oh, yes.
you know, um, it's an impatience and I want it now, like the Baruch of the Willy Wonka, right? I want it now.
I want an Oompa Loompa daddy.
Yeah, and so you see, so you see some of that, I am sure. And
Mhm.
so, take me through the process of like if somebody comes in, like what kind of process are you going to go through with them with their money?
So I am huge on mindset. A lot of advisors will just jump straight through to the let's invest. But as much as I love investments, they're a lot of fun. They're very much like the roof of your house. And if your spending and saving foundation isn't strong, your roof is going to come crumbling down.
Okay.
So let's get more into the core of what's really going on with your day-to-day money before we look forward to the future and the investing kind of thing. But finding out what is your money experience, because a lot of us have figured out how we interact with money by the time we're age 7. We don't even realize it, but we're seeing the adults in our life and what it does to them and how they think about it. And our little kiddo brains jump to conclusions that are suddenly just in our neural pathways forever. And that's where I see so much shame and frustration around, especially budgeting and spending of, I know what I need to do. Why can't I do it? Is you're probably working through something. So for me to be really effective, I need to figure that out first. And generally people don't come in saying, so I've done all this analysis on myself. Here is what I need. And we have to figure it out together, which can be very fun. I love having those conversations. But then also figuring out what is it that you actually want your money to do for you? Not what social media or your friends or the people around you say you should be doing with it, but what do you want? So I actually have all my clients go through a values exercise where it's kind of like a deck of playing cards with different things that you can value. And you go through and first sort them out into like, yep, important, nope, not important. And then we take the important deck and shuffle it down to 15, to 10, to 5. What are your top 5? And then
Oh,
I ask you, why? Why are these 5 important to you? And what does that mean to you? And then how can we get your money aligned with that? Because that's going to be so much more fulfilling. Yeah.
that's an awesome process. I mean, I think, you know, getting that mindset is so important in all of the aspects of our life.
Oh,
And
100%.
you're bringing it into the money and really showing people, like, and who said, right? Who said, you have to do it this way, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and oh man, I'm trying to think about like what I was like when I was 7 and what message I was receiving. So
Hmm.
a little bit for me to think about there.
Enjoy that little tidbit. Yeah.
Oh,
But
I love.
things like I love to travel. It is my favorite thing in the world. That is what I will go for every single time. I've had clients like, I don't want to travel. I want to make my home the most cozy, welcoming, comforting place ever.
Yeah,
Awesome. Fabulous. Great. That is your want. You don't have to want what I want. I don't have to want what you want. We all get to be our own people. And there again, giving people that permission, like, yeah,
yeah,
I don't care. You do you. And
yeah.
I'm going to cheer you on no matter what that is.
Mhm.
Um, I think goes really far into breaking that, again, the stigma of, oh, shoot, what am I doing? And am I doing it right with my money?
Yeah, right, right. Right in air quotes
There's
is
no right. Yeah.
the same thing, right? Because we do that. Comparison is good when I'm looking, I compare myself to self, right? That, how
Mhm.
have I grown in this area or how have we grown as a couple? And
Yeah.
then we look to others for possibility, like what's possible out there, but does that really resonate with me? Is
Exactly.
that really authentically me? Or am I trying to keep up with the Joneses? Again, air quote, hate me that saying, but
Yes.
you're really looking at it, and does this really matter? And I think the delayed going back to the delayed gratification piece of it.
Mhm.
So like really looking at, is this an impulse decision or have I really thought it out?
Yeah.
I'm sure you see that too, where there's been a
Oh,
lot of
yes. Yeah. I like to call it my return on happiness
Mm,
of if this is an impulse, it's probably not going to give me very long lasting happiness.
oh, okay, yeah,
Or even if it is something that I've thought out, if it puts me into a tight financial position and adds that stress, then that stress is subtracting from my happiness. And here again, maybe it's not quite worth it. So
yeah,
trying to, and it's hard to forecast how happy a purchase is going to make you, but we can have some frame of reference of, and especially with little treat culture. I love me a little treat as much as the next person, but I feel like a lot of us have gotten into the cycle of, well, I used to get myself a little treat and then the world went to shit. So kept getting my little treat and now it's become a routine. And it's not the treat anymore, it's just part of my life.
good in habit.
It's a habit, right?
Yes,
Just keeps that cycle up
sure.
of, and that's where we can kind of pull back and say, okay, is this still giving you the happiness or has the novelty and the excitement worn off to where we need to retool and figure out how we can boost that happiness
Sure.
without subtracting from somewhere else.
Oh my goodness, that is it's just such a gold nugget there because it's like, well, because we do, right? We do these
Mhm.
things, and at first it's like, oh, I'm just going to do this. I mean, I think about it like after dinner, like dessert, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or you do it, right? Then becomes this habit, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, it's a belief system, right? But that we have to have dessert after
Yeah.
every meal. Like
Yep.
my body believes,
Craves it.
or if I've had a really crappy day, I should go shopping, right?
Right?
I've done it so many times that all of a sudden the
Mhm.
next thing you know, right, I got 30 extra pounds on, or I'm thousands of dollars in debt and clothes I don't wear that still has tags on it, because
Yep.
this is how I'm trying to relieve whatever stress I'm under,
Yeah.
or when it becomes these belief systems. And so that's so great that you work with people's mindsets, so that when they are working with their money, they're making conscious choices of what they're
It is
doing.
the goal. It takes a long time to break that cycle. And I think that's a super important part to always keep in mind. And a thing that I always give my clients is I feel like they constantly come to me like, oh, we didn't do as good as we wanted. We didn't fix it this month. It's like, well, it takes at least 21 days to break a habit. And we are breaking a habit and building a new habit.
Yeah.
And that takes time. So it also takes a lot of grace
Yeah.
to say, okay, I didn't quite make it this time, but what did I learn? And how can I do it just a little bit better so I can get towards whatever that future goal. I prefer priorities over goals. A lot of financial advisors talk about goals, but then I feel like it's a set thing. And it's
Yeah.
harder when you have changed to give up on that goal.
Yeah.
Priorities, I feel like, are a little bit more fluid. So let's focus on priorities.
Sure.
Goal
Yeah.
aside.
Thinking about so from a brain perspective, which
Mhm.
is my jam, it takes 21 days to break that bad habit, and then it's actually 62 more days, you
Yeah.
know, build up that new habit.
Mhm.
So you're going to add that all together.
Mhm. Okay.
That's
83.
83 days, right? To actually come through the other side. So you're
Mhm.
looking at almost 3 months of being consistent, right? Consistency. And I think sometimes people will throw the whole thing away because they had maybe one step back.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
no, 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 no,
Don't
no.
do
You don't
it.
throw the baby away with the bathwater. You don't got to
Right?
go, right?
Yeah.
It's just a little step back. We can still
Yeah.
move forward, right? I don't got to
Mhm.
start again. And you can see that way because people we berate ourselves. We're like, oh, I didn't get it perfect. I didn't
Right.
get it perfect. And
Yep.
especially when it comes to money, because it is that topic of like, you don't want to waste it. What do you think? It grows on trees?
Yeah.
Don't waste your money. That's hard to come by
Being so silly. Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of heaviness.
around it. And so we get to have that grace and then celebrate and say, like we took 8 steps forward and maybe one step back. So
Right?
we're doing that,
That's
right?
not even a cha-cha. That's forward motion.
It's perfect, right? Yeah.
Right?
This is it money has been, in my husband and I will be married just about 30 years here. And it is often a topic of contention. I will use that word.
Yep. Yes.
And it's, a lot of it has to do with like, me really reaching for regaining of autonomy as a mom
Mhm.
with my
Yeah.
kids, and, and kind of, played that backseat role for a lot
Mhm.
of years. And now, kind of getting back into the driver's seat of my own bus, if you will.
Yes.
Um, so it's like sometimes money can get a little,
Mhm.
can get a little heated. Um, right? But we can work through it. And I think that, you know, what you do with people is amazing. I love that.
Mhm.
And I love the fact that you are creating freedom for people. Like that's what I hear, like, you know,
Yes.
your willingness, first of all, to come on here and talk about money.
Heck
And
yeah.
so in all the areas, like I'm thinking, it creates freedom and joy and fulfillment. And we have this ability, right, to when we are intentional with it,
Mhm.
beautiful tool to
Yeah.
serve, not just to serve ourselves, but to serve others.
Mhm.
And so I would love for you to tell the audience, out of all of the things that you've learned about money,
Mm.
what is your biggest piece of wisdom about money?
Oh boy. It always comes back to the tool for me of you get to control your money. It does not get to control you, but you have to figure out what that means for you. And don't be that passenger and let it drive you wherever you want to go. You get to use the tool. And having that empowerment, I think it's the root of everything.
Oh, that like just gave me chills too, the word empowerment, right? It's like money
Mhm.
gives us that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for some women, they create what's called an FU fund. And yeah, it gives them that empowerment, that freedom that, hey, I have this pocket that I can do whatever I want. And that's such a confidence builder that, yeah, I can say F you. I can back it up.
Yeah.
What you can do about it?
And yeah,
You get to control.
I,
Hmm.
I get to be the driver of the bus. I get to say, this is what I would like to do and with my money. And
Yeah.
yeah, I so appreciate that nugget of wisdom that you
Mhm.
shared with us. Please just tell the audience how they can find you.
Absolutely. So, my financial advisory firm is called Valkyrie Financial. You can find me on Instagram at Valkyrie Finance. Online, I like to be sassy and a little bit meh with my socials because life's too short to take this all seriously. Let's have some fun with it, and let's acknowledge that none of us know what we're doing. We are all just doing our damn best. So yeah, let's have some fun with it. So Instagram or yeah, go to my website. And I believe you're going to put those links in the event description or podcast description. So make it nice and easy.
There for everybody. The links will be in the show notes, and they'll also be on any social media posts there. The links will be there as well. So
Yeah.
thank you so much,
My
Sarah.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Money, 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 money. I think Pink Floyd song, money.
So many good songs. Yes.
So many good songs. Yeah. Thank you for joining us on the Secret Keepers podcast.
Bye.
Thank you for joining the Secret Keepers podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a like and follow so we can invite you back. And if you just want more, visit CorrineZuleger.com. Remember, you're not alone.